Hello, leaders. Welcome to our channel, Leader for Life. My name is Jason Graziani, and I welcome you here today to talk about the subject of purpose, specifically one's life purpose. Now, I agree that purpose of somebody's life can be one of the most overrated or underrated items that you could ever talk about. What do I mean by this? If I'm speaking to you today and you say, Jason, I don't have a purpose of my life. I don't exactly know what it is. You might find it young, you may be middle-aged, or you may never really find a true purpose of your life. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't continue. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't be excited, because you may learn that purpose at any time in your life. Sometimes people's purpose has to do with their vocation, what they do. Sometimes their purpose revolves around their faith, what they believe in. Sometimes their purpose is the family members that they serve, or the community that they serve, or the country that they're from. But I want you guys to know a story about how I came to my purpose and what took place for myself. After my childhood, in my mid to late 20s, I remember knowing that I'm a worker, I'm somebody that wants to go out there and do something great for people. I want to make a difference with families' lives, but I kind of really don't know what the purpose of my life is. Most people will have this white moment, this shining moment. Kind of imagine like the eclipse happened and the stars in the clouds opened up and I knew what I was here to do. Or it may not happen that way. I remember specifically sitting in the chair visiting my mom's apartment. And I remember sitting down just kind of feeling calm, feeling very clear. And it was at a time of my life and a stage of my life where I was really trying to figure out what is the most important thing for me to do on a daily basis. And I came up with 4 purposes. I was putting them down on paper, and something has to be congruent in your mind. It's got to be congruent in your language, and it's got to be congruent in your actions. And if you could put the congruency between your mind, your words, and your actions, that'll define your habits, which will become your character, and ultimately define who you are. And for me, it came down to 4 things. The first and foremost had to be revolving around the way we treat people. So my first purpose is to love. And when I mean to love, you could say, if you're a Christian like myself, you could say the golden rule, how you treat other people is how you'd want to be treated yourself. But really is our society right now, whether you're domestic in the United States or you're one of our international guests listening in, it's a very divided world that we have right now. Very divided. I'm a firm believer that you shouldn't judge people, but if you were to make an evaluation, it should be more about the actions that they've done after being born, not the way they look or where they come from when they were born. And so I've always looked at individuals for loving them, uniting, keeping people together. I live in the United States of America, the best country on the planet. And I love the United States of America because we have so many differences, but we have to remember that love can keep us together. Secondly, is to lead. And that's really at the forefront of Leader for Life. See, when I talk about Leader for Life, that's not a slogan, although it may be on a car one day. A Leader for Life isn't a company. Leader for Life is a way of life. It means you could choose to be a leader at any point in time. And so for me, once I know that I love people, loving people just isn't enough. Now we have to take action and lead them. Give direction, give hope, give opportunity. Sometimes people need to be encouraged. Sometimes people need to be challenged, but they always need to be led. And that's the most important thing. So number 1 is to love. And number 2 is to lead people. Number 3 is to be. To be what, Jason? To be the Rock. What do you mean the Rock, Jason? The Rock? Be the Rock? You mean like the Rock, like the actor? No, the Rock is pretty cool. You'd want to be like the Rock if you could as well. And the Rock, if you're watching, I think you're awesome. But no, being the Rock means you're going to be the strength for people that may be weaker than you, more scared than you, more uncertain. Maybe they feel fearful, anxiety, depression. Maybe they feel like they're not good enough. And so if you could be strength in another person's life, later on in their life, they're going to copy that and be the strength in somebody else's. And they're never going to forget what you did for them. And so I believe it's important to be specifically the Rock, which means the strength for somebody else that may be weaker in your life currently. That leads me to the last one, to fight. Behind me, I have fighting for the little guy. It on a license plate. It's kind of funny. It was my first license plate in Texas when I moved to Texas. And I remember knowing that it was important that I put a purpose on my license plate. And for some reason, I just had this itch. And I remember telling my brother, get me this plate. You gotta get me this plate. Little Guy, Lilguy. And it was like little guy. And I would have people ask me on my Mercedes, what is little guy? Like, what is little guy? What does that mean? And it always made me feel good to fight for the underdog, to fight for the little guy. And I think that if we have a compassion for the people that may be struggling and a compassion for the people that may have a little bit less, I think we could really make a difference in their life if we fight for them. And so I'm a firm believer, again, coming from a background where at one point my family was on public assistance. At one point my family was on welfare programs, food stamp programs, needy at churches. Churches needed to help us out. Having gone from that background and then coming up and doing a little bit better and having some blessings and some successes in life, to go back and fight for that little guy and have that process happen over and over and over again, you'll find that we'll rely a lot less on governments and a lot more on each other if we fight for the little guy. So as a recap, my purpose is, and I hope you find yours, I pray that you find yours, but don't slow down in your life just because you may not have a purpose yet. I was about 28 years old when this came together for me, but regardless of your age and your background, I just want this to encourage you, to let you know that if you don't have a purpose and you're seeking one, you just got one step closer by watching this video. And if you do have your purpose, this is just another testimony of another professional entrepreneur out there, a coach, a speaker, a mentor that's out there trying to do the same thing as you. Mine, to love, to lead, to be, and to fight. And I hope to see you guys on future calls. I'd love to hear from you. Reach out to me if you have a purpose and you'd like to explain what your purpose is. You guys take care. God bless. And I'll see you at the top, leaders. Bye-bye.